Don't you love it when the dog gets mad because the other dog is in his spot?
Yeah, I got balls, close I read. I got balls, won't you listen to me?
Hello, 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 and welcome to The Author Has Thoughts. I'm the author in question, Gary Ballard. We are talking about the second episode of my Kindle Vella series, Hiss Whistle Dead, which will eventually become a novel. Links in the description for all the stuff that you need. Like and subscribe. As I said in the last video, this episode was originally the first in the series, and it was a very specific set of circumstances that caused it. As an aside, this is also one of those episodes that I ended up cutting down a bit, I believe. So I'd been considering trying the Vella format as a way to keep the Bridge Chronicles relevant while I spent the next few years writing my historical novel. And yes, it will take years. I've been on it since late 2021, 2022, something like that. I'd always wanted to do something with the Shell character from the Tales of the Bridge Chronicles short story, The Excavator. Link in the description to where you can buy that short story collection. The whole excavator job is fascinating to me. I came up with it while I was writing my third Bridge Chronicles novel, If Tribe Equals. And there's a huge spoiler alert coming, so if you haven't read that book, please go read that book. I had to figure out some way that Bridge could get control of his girlfriend's vast information trove and contacts after she was killed. Angela was known as the Baroness. She was this super badass hacker, perhaps one of the most powerful independent contractor types on the global net, based in the Los Angeles area. So, you know, she was going to have the security that would be insane, not to mention multiple identities that Bridge probably didn't know about. Well, that led me down the path of, well, what happens to all your internet accounts, your emails, your cloud storage, your cell phone records, all that shit? When you die, how does your next of kin or the probate court or whatever wrangle all that together if they don't even share the passwords? You know, if it's not a shared account, they may or may not have the password. Well, my answer was an excavator. Almost a forensic scientist of sorts, a digital archaeologist. They'd have to be a really good hacker. They have to be able to get into accounts, but more importantly, they need to have the ability to link all that shit together into one profile to kind of visualize these vast web of connections and use that to craft a picture of the person. And so Shell, which again is short for Shelley Jonas, was born. So this is one of those episodes that had to be split into two parts because it was too long. I think it might have clocked in over 5,500, 5,600 words, where originally it had the entire funeral scene and then the first part of Shell's investigation. Now episode 2 is just the funeral, and you'll know what I'm talking about when episode 3 comes out. So while I was trying to come up with an idea for the Vella series, I was also dealing with the fact that my mother was succumbing to some form of dementia that ended up being a pretty rapidly declining version of it. We'd had some signs and hints that there was a little bit wrong before, say, Thanksgiving, but shortly before Christmas, she just went off a cliff and died in late February of 2023. So there was this constant, inescapable air of death around me, and all the thoughts that seeing that brings up about my own mortality and about what the void of that person missing looks like when she's gone. So all that death, all that depression just kind of congealed until I decided I'd start the story in a funeral. Obviously, I ended up adding the other episodes, so it didn't actually start at the funeral. But, the funeral scene was in my mind for a while. And it actually came from a funeral that I'd attended years earlier for a friend's dad. the actual physical building and what it all looked like. But then I, pulled stuff from a bunch of other places too. So many places that I pulled that I grabbed stuff in my head. Shell's mom getting stoned out of her mind to deal with the death. It was kind of an homage to, that bride is given muscle relaxant scene in 16 Candles, which if you haven't seen 16 Candles because you're younger than, say, 40, I suggest you do. Initially, I didn't really have much of a place for Shell's dad. He was nothing more than kind of a yes, dear, devoted husband. Thankfully, I came up with a scene that I added later on in a later episode that gave him more depth, and I'll go into that when we get to that episode. We'll learn a bit more about Shell's brother Lillian, who was born as Leland, and we get introduced to their mother. I'm going to talk more about the mother in later episode videos, but I did want to say that though there are parts of my mother in this character, she's not fully based on my mother. She's kind of an invention of her own. She's probably an unconscious synthesis of a lot of mother figure characters, especially like Jessica Walters, rest in peace. Her portrayal of Lucille Bluth on Arrested Development, or even Mallory Archer from Archer.
It would help if you all showed up, looking like a loving, supportive family.
For how long?
10 minutes tops.
See if you can get it down to 5.
And of course, they're sprinkled with bits from my own mom. She's that kind of aloof, passive-aggressive character who just doesn't understand why everyone can't see things like she does. Which sometimes my mom was like that too. Now, the end of the episode leads Shell to question Lillian's death, and that sets in motion her investigation into the death, which will begin in the next episode, episode 3. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you're enjoying the Kindle Vella series. Come back next week when there's another video and another episode. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to know when that video's out, and which would mean that the episode is out as well. Like and comment so we can get the YouTube algorithm going, and check me out on my socials. My name is Gary Ballard, and these have been my thoughts.
1, 2, 3, 4.